All right, Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. All right, Barakatah Yahweh. The name of this one is Various Topics, dated January 26, 2025, the whole full year of our deliverance and the judgment and destruction of Esau and the other nations too. And these, demons, that are Israelites, but are just straight up demons. I just have a couple of things I want to speak on. I was watching Elder Pastor's video. I'm almost done watching it. It's about a 2-hour video. I got about maybe 17 minutes left on it. But what I wanted to speak on real quick, and this is why, it's important to go into your words, your Hebrew or your Greek words, depending on if you're in the Old or New Testament. And I just wanted to speak on this one in particular because I remember, going through this a while back, and I didn't really know what it meant, but when I went to the Hebrew, it gave a better understanding. And then there's another word in that same chapter in the book of Revelation 18. After the destruction of America, everything that you see is going to be gone. There's not going to be anything left on here. No people, no mountains, no hills, no forests, no animals, no trees, no buildings, no cars, nothing. It's going to be a flat land, a wasteland, a destroyed land. And the only thing that would inhabit this place will be, unclean animals, birds, so on and so forth. All right. And here in America is this place where, like it says in Revelation 17, let me just get that real quick, and then we'll come back to this. In Revelation 17, right? And, the Bible is not written straight up, because if the Bible was written straight up and they would have had the name America in there, they would have banned the Bible. They would have got rid of the Bible a long time ago. All right. So those names, didn't exist back then. So the Lord used code names for this place, America. Used code names for the people that would be ruling it, which would be the Edomites, because until the Hebrew Israelites started teaching, no one out there, talked about Esau or the Edomites. It was just, it was beginning with the school at One West. We were the first ones, beginning with our elders that spoke about the Edomites being the so-called white people, and then as you go through the scriptures and prophecy, it tells you that they would be the final rulers on the planet Earth before Yahweh Shai came back to destroy them. And that, they would be pretty much on the throne and ruling. So here in Revelation 17 and 18, it says, and the woman, which when you read the first verse down, it speaks about this woman that was a harlot, pretty much. And the harlot is a woman that sells her goods for money. And this particular woman, harlot, is symbolic for America. It says, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city. So America is a great city, because people think of a city of being, a city within a state, so on and so forth. But a city is as big as its citizens. And Elder Pastor was the first one to bring that out. Which when you look up the word citizen goes back to the word city. And if you were born in America, or you get naturalized, or whatever the course is that you go through, you become a U.S. citizen. So the whole of the United States is a big, gigantic city with U.S. citizens. You can go anywhere in the world, no matter what so-called race you are. If you were born in America or you're an American, you would be known as a U.S. citizen, no matter what nationality you are. So this is the great city, America, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So there's no other nation out there that really runs, all governments on the planet. And what I mean by that is everyone, is coming to America for one, for some, I forget how you say that word or that phrase, but they come to America for, to sell their wares, to sell their goods, And um, the world as we know it today has become rich by their ability to, sell their goods here in America. Because prior to that, when America was starting out, the nations they had certain amount of wealth, but it grew exponentially, based off of the ability to sell their wares here. And when you go throughout all of America, I'll speak of New York in general because I've lived there before and I've been to these different places. You have something called Fashion, I believe it's called Fashion Avenue, which is Seventh Avenue, and that's all of a bunch of different stores with the latest fashions and your Pradas, your Gucci, Fendi, all that stuff. You also have something known as a wholesale district. Within the wholesale district, you can buy and sell pretty much anything. You can get, from cheap rugs to expensive Persian rugs. You can get from cheap perfumes to very expensive, high, top of the line colognes and perfumes. You can get, oils, incense, body, like body lotions and soaps and I mean whatever you want. Different types of fabric. If you are a person that makes your own garments or you have your own line, you can get your own fabric to make your fashions. You can buy stuff that's already made, pre-made, some knockoff, some real authentic stuff. So all throughout there, you can buy and sell pretty much anything. You can buy brass, you can buy, I mean, rings, gold, fake gold, real gold, sneakers, shoes, socks, drawers, I mean, whatever you need, you can buy it there and sell it there. So America reigns over these kings in that fashion because they have to conform to the standards that America sets in order for them to be able to sell their wares here. So when this place is destroyed, they're not going to be able to sell any of that. Because here, I was going to start it straight up at the 14th verse, but I'll start at verse 11, Revelation 18:11. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her. See, why? Because they're not going to be able to sell their wares here. This is the place where these nations have become rich through selling their goods. And it's going to go into all the stuff that they sell here. And it's even more than that. But this is just giving you like a list of things, that they sell here. It says, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. See? So, you have individuals out there that say that Babylon the Great is talking about the Vatican because it has 7 heads, which are the 7 hills. No, because not everyone on the planet Earth is not getting rich. Different corporations and businesses around the world are not getting rich selling or buying from the Roman Catholic Church. All right. So that's how that's a fallacy. You don't have, ships pulling up at the port, exporting and importing stuff out of there to get rich. But you do have ports on the south, on the East Coast and on the West Coast, and even in the Persian Gulf. I'm sorry, not the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Mexico, which Trump talking about changing it to the Gulf of America. Okay, and you have many ports. You have some brothers that may have worked at some of these ports or have delivered to some of these ports. And you see the big ships with those shipping containers, and those shipping containers are full of goods that come from Taiwan, Singapore. They come from Turkey, they come from China, they come from Japan. And Taiwan, different places around the world that are selling their wares here. They're not doing that anywhere else. Now in China, they built up their infrastructure where people are starting to, sell their wares and things of that nature there. But the major hub of sale and merchandise and merchants getting rich is here in America. It says the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, right, and of pearls. So if you want jewelry, if you want to buy stuff that's already made, or you can buy stuff that is, ready for use to make jewelry, you could do that. All throughout the wholesale district. Some wholesalers, they'll sell wholesale, but then they'll also sell, to retail also. Some just sell strictly wholesale. You have to buy at least six or more of that particular item in order for them to sell to you. And some places just sell, they either retail or wholesale, both. They'll sell you one piece or 1,000 pieces. It says in fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet. So if you want fashion design, you want different types of fashion, you can go down to either Fashion Avenue, I think it's called, which the avenue of, I forget. It's been a minute since I actually drove through there. But you can go down there. You can buy all different types of wares, of goods, all throughout, you know, all throughout Seventh Avenue. But the main hub of sales of merchandise would be down what they call the wholesale district. And if you're interested, you could just type that in: wholesale district, Manhattan, New York, and it'll give you lists of different businesses there and different things that they sell. You know, it says in all the ironwood and all manner of vessels of ivory. So if you want, you know, furniture, or vases or different things made of ivory or wood, you can get it there in all manner of vessels of most precious wood, right? Well, would this be like mahogany, and different types of wood that have been fashioned and designed, as furniture, whether it's from something small to something big, drawers, like, your chest of drawers or your nightstand, so on and so forth. If you want a lamp for your room, you can buy all that stuff down there. It says in a brass and iron and marble, right? You can buy marble if you want to get, some marble flooring, tile, to tile out your bathroom or whatever part of your kitchen or whatever you want to do with it. You can buy all this stuff there. It says in of brass and iron and marble. It says and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense. So you can buy all different type of spices. We went to this restaurant to grab some food yesterday after camp, and they have a it's a restaurant slash, they have a supermarket within the restaurant. And when you go to the back, there's a whole bunch of spices you could buy, and a pretty decent price too. Have a decent size spices. For most of them were like $3.99, but if you get like star anise, it was like $6.99. Because star anise is more expensive. Now, if you wanted cardamom seed or ground cardamom seed, that was like $16.99 for a small bottle, because cardamom seeds are very expensive. So it depends on what you're going to get. But most of the stuff, like your curries, your hot curry, your turmeric, cinnamon, rosemary, oregano, all of that was like $3.99, most of them. All right. And you can go down there in the wholesale district in New York and get these things. They have places that just sell perfumes, cologne. Some places that just sell, spices. Some places that just sell incense and oils, things of that nature. It says in wine and oil and fine flour. And you have some places that'll sell, food, you know, so you can prepare. Like if you need flour or you need some oil or wine, you can get it there. And wheat, see, and beasts and sheep and horses, right? Because beasts and sheep and horses are sold in this country. You know, you will have to go through the proper channels to find out where exactly that would be. It says in chariots, which are what? Which are cars. And there's a lot of, a lot of cars that come through the ports of America from different nations to be sold in America that are not made in America. It says, and slaves. See, so you have slaves because slaves were here, bought and sold here, and souls of men because you have those that are in the music industry, entertainment world that have sold their souls, and then when the time comes, they're going to be destroyed. But the main point I wanted to get here says, and the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, which is what? This easy life that you've been living here in America, because America made people soft because of their easy living. Easy times make weak men, as it says. And here the word for fruits is the word opera, almost sounds like opera. It says the season which succeeds summer from the rising of Sirius to that of Arcturus. An example from late summer, early autumn, our dog days, ripe fruits, see, of trees. And you can buy, if you go down there, you can buy ripe fruits, you can buy dried fruits. It says that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee. Why? Because when America is destroyed, you're not going to be able to buy any of these things here. And all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more. So when you do look up this word dainty, right, is the word liparos. You get the word lipos, right here from lipos, Greece. Things which pertain to a sumptuous and delicate style of living, like hamburgers, hot dogs. You have you have like when you go to some of you that are familiar with going to these different Brazilian steakhouses, that they have like a line of food, and then they'll have like a grill, or they'll have like a rotisserie spit, or they'll have the coals going, and they'll have the chicken and the beef and the different things cooking and in the flame, and then they will pull the what you call it out where the meat is at, and they will give you they'll pull out a piece and they'll cut it up for you, and they'll ask you, do you want fat with that or no fat. And most jakes get the fat, and that would destroy you. That's why the scriptures say, eat no manner of fat. you know so you got all these things there, and then when you go down to that wholesale district, you can or down to the financial center, or I forget. I just Salaki, my brain is a little foggy right now. But when you go down to the wholesale district, you can buy meat, you can buy halal, you can buy regular stuff, from different places. So these are things which pertain to a sumptuous and delicate style of living. Right now, when you go to Proverbs, the elder pastor went to the one in I believe that was Deuteronomy, if I'm not mistaken, 33, with Asher, I believe it is, royal dainties. So I thought about this one, Proverbs 23:23. It says, "Be not desirous of his dainties." Matter of fact, Proverbs 23:1. When thou sittest to eat with the ruler, consider diligently what is before thee. Right. And some of these individuals that sold out, they sat with the rulers or with gatekeepers of the rulers, and they were able to sit and eat good because they sold their soul. And it says, and put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite. Right. You're insatiable, a glutton pretty much. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. Right. Because it's all done to lure you in. So when you look up this word dainties here, is the word mata'im, right? It says tasty or savory food, delectable food, delectable Negro, dainties, savory meat. Yeah, because you can. I mean, honestly, the best tasting meats are usually fried. That brings out, for some reason, that when you fry anything, any type of meat, it brings out the flavor even more. So that goes back to fat. These dainties. All right, it says a savory or seasoned food. And you have your different spices, which you can, season up your basmati rice or your beans or whatever the case may be, lentils or arroz con habichuela, all that. How the tribes do. It says is especially applied to dishes made of flesh taken in hunting. See, highly esteemed by nomad tribes, very suitable to blah blah blah. So desire not is dainty. So that goes hand in hand. Matter of fact, that goes hand in hand with the scripture in Revelation 18 that we read. And down here in Proverbs 23:6, it says, "Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats." And this also goes back to the word savory meat, where Isaac told Esau to go get him some venison and make him that savory meat that he loved. before before he passed to bless him, you know. So here he, and then Rebecca went and got some goat and made savory meat for him, and he didn't know the difference between the goat and the venison, and that's how Jacob, our forefather, was able to get that blessing. All right, so I just wanted to mention that on those two scriptures there, pretty much. And I had this here, which we spoke on this. This is Bill 1484, refers to different bills in a different context. So you have in Mississippi, House Bill 1484, which he spoke about this at camp yesterday. It says would turn bounty hunters into paid agents, assisting government officials with deporting immigrants living in the country illegally. So pretty much in Mississippi, which I wouldn't be surprised if they pass it in other states, you have a House bill where they can make pretty much anyone. I mean, I don't know all the procedure of it. I mean, maybe they have to get a license or whatever the case may be. They can become bounty hunters and go out and pretty much gather, what they deem as illegal immigrants and get paid for it. So they could snatch up anybody and bring them there and say, look, this guy's an illegal, pay me my money, depending on whatever the bounty is. So this is going to cause and wreak havoc upon, these Jakes of the Northern Kingdom. And they're already out there in mass numbers, rounding up, individuals. Elder Apostle Rakal was telling us that by his home, his woman told him that there was a bunch of individuals being rounded up, handcuffed and being pretty much, escorted out of the U.S. So this devil ain't playing, He said what he said, and he's, actually putting it into effect. So this bill right here, along with other, unrighteous decrees, are going to bring, these are some of the things that are going to bring about Jacob's trouble. And then I have here, which Elder Pastor mentioned this in another video, which I remember this, but it's been a minute because it goes back to 2017, where President Trump spoke about biometrics entry-exit clause in Trump's executive order could cause logistical problems. But nevertheless, they want this because this is the goal, the final goal of the international bankers, is to micro-CHIP everybody, which the micro-CHIP, in case you didn't know, is the MOTB when you read Revelation 13, 16 verse on down. It said President Donald Trump's executive order on immigration and refugees, which proposes that all non-citizens be subjected to biometric checks when entering or leaving the United States, could lead to widespread logistical issues, according to a report by the Georgia Strait. But nevertheless, you notice everything that these devils are doing, and one way or the other has something to do with, something biometric, the scanning or the reading of someone, whether it's your iris, and eventually they plan on putting the micro-CHIP in people. Most will get it in the hand or whatever other part of the body they get it in, but then you will have some that will get it in their head. Now, I recently was glancing at the movie Upgrade, and they pretty much set the guy up to have a bad accident so he can be pretty much a paraplegic. He wasn't able to use any parts of his body, and then they augmented him. They increased him. They put these biometric things into him, and that enhanced him. He was able to stand. He was able to move. He was able to run. He was stronger. He was able to fight. But the thing about it with that, they showed how there was, part of him didn't want to do certain things, but then he was controlled. You see? And the way they controlled him was by, because he was fighting it. He kept fighting it. But he had lost his wife and I believe his son also, if I'm not mistaken. And what they did was with that mechanism that he had inside of him, they eventually made him, the contraption took over and put him in a blissful state where he thought he was back with his wife and his children, locked away somewhere else in another part of his mind. But then all the while he was still committing these acts. He thought, he thought he beat that device, but he didn't. The device beat him. And basically what that shows is, they want total control because they can control you using these mechanisms. You see? So that's all a part of the MOTB system that they plan on bringing into place. It part of it goes back to the what they call the Delgado Bull. You can type that up, Delgado Bull, which was this devil that cut open a bull's head and skull and put some electrodes to different parts of the brain, and they would hit a button and they would rouse up the bull, and when the bull was getting ready to attack, they hit another button and he would become docile again. I mean, they're showing you in these different movies and different things that they do that this is what they plan on doing, but yet people will talk shit because that's just a movie or whatever. Well, you have something called predictive programming, where they show you certain things before they actually do it, and then a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line, when they do it, people say, "Oh yeah, that was in this movie." Well, they told you they were going to do it. That's how these devils get down. It says the executive order calls for a U.S. ban on all visitors with visas from 7 Muslim majority countries, as well as a natural biometric ID program for non-citizens entering and leaving the U.S. So this was, targeted to the Muslims back then, but today it's targeted to who? To the so-called Mexicans, so-called Central Americans, and so-called South Americans, and any of the islands that are not a part of the U.S. Now you notice they're all focusing only on the tribes. When the borders were open for all that time, right? You had Muslims, you had so-called Africans, the real Hamites, you had so-called Chinese, you had so-called Pakistani and so-called East Indians coming into this country, but they're not focusing on them because they're not the threat, even though they really are the threat. But the main focus, they're putting it on who? The so-called Latin tribes. Why? Because that is the final step, of uniting the kingdom of Israel, is the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. Because for the most part, the southern kingdom, there's a lot of Jakes from the southern kingdom that are woke to this truth, pursuant to the book of Ezekiel 37. But the Latin tribes, you still have, you still don't have a big, great influx, because the word had to first be taught to Judah, who would be the one to gather. And then once Ephraim started waking up, that began the bringing back together of the tribes. So when you go to Ezekiel 37 and 11, it says, "Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say our bones are dried and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our part." So the bones represent the whole nation or the whole house of Israel. When we jump down to the 15th verse, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, "Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah." Now, Judah, when you see Judah, it's sometimes speaking about the tribe, depending on the context, or it could be speaking about the kingdom of Judah, the southern kingdom. Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and for the children of Israel, his companions, right, which were the other tribes of the southern kingdom. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph. Now, Joseph is interchangeable with Ephraim. Sometimes you see the name Joseph, sometimes you see the name Ephraim, because the Joseph is known in Ephraim, for lack of better words. I believe there's a scripture in the book of Numbers, if I'm not mistaken. 132 or something like that. If you brothers know where it's at, you could post it, when you get a chance. So let's go back. The stick of Ephraim, see, because Joseph and Ephraim are interchangeable. That's why in the New Testament, in the book of Revelation, it doesn't mention Ephraim, but it does mention Joseph, because Ephraim and Joseph are synonymous with each other. But it mentions Manasseh, okay? And Ephraim, out of the two, out of Manasseh and Ephraim became the greater, even though he was the younger. You could read the story of Jacob before his death, when he blessed the two sons of Joseph. "And for all the house of Israel, his companions, and join them one to another into one stick." And this is why we have the 12 tribe sign out there. You got these guys that talk shit about the 12 tribe sign, but yet they don't. Where's their 12 tribe sign at? This is a commandment. And you join the two sticks together, right? It says, "And they shall become one in thine hand." And that's why you have the 12 tribes chart out there. And we got that from Elder High Priest Ariah, and we believe it by faith. Now you can go into the scriptures, and there is proof in there in the scriptures. But if you are of a, for lack of better words, a prejudiced mind, or you are already have it in your mind, nope, this ain't the truth, you ain't gonna see it. And another thing that Elder Pastor said years ago that stuck with me, is that if you've never been around the different tribes, then certain things ain't gonna make sense to you. But now, if you've been around the tribes and you know certain ways that tribes are, and certain things they do and move, and certain of their characteristics, you'll start to see more and more who each tribe is speaking about. But if you've never been around them, how can you judge if they are the tribe or not? And at the end of the day, it's all by faith, because the scriptures say that the Spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the sons of the living power, and we believe that by faith. Now if you got problem, now these devils will have a problem with that when we say it, but then they'll say that the Gentiles, which are really Israelites, not Gentiles, can be saved by faith. But then when we say we have faith, that what we're saying is true, they got a problem with that. There's always double standards for us. So, fuck Esau, fuck his world, fuck his philosophies and his religion. 2 times. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, will thou not show us what thou meanest by these? And we've actually, witnessed this happening in real time, many times. People coming up, what do you mean by this? Or where am I on this sign? And that gives you an opportunity to teach them. Because the 12 tribe sign is pretty much a conversation piece. It's something that the Lord put out there for them to be intrigued by it. Now, some will be intrigued, some will not. You see the actual heathens walking by, they don't pay attention to the camp. You'll see Ishmael or Elam or Ham or some of them other tribes, nations walking by. They don't sit there and inquire, what this talking about, my brother? Say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, right? Because Ephraim is the head tribe of the so-called northern kingdom, and the tribe of Israel, his fellows, the rest of the tribes of the northern kingdom, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, which is the southern kingdom, beginning with Judah, the so-called Negroes, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks wherein thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. See? So we're supposed to have the 12 tribe sign out there, So you brothers, make sure that you have your 12 tribe sign out there when you're speaking, because that is a commandment. It's just as important as when we out there teaching. That's when we really wear our garments, because the garments is already in us, which is this knowledge. The garments that we wear, which is really sackcloth, is pretty much just something as a representation of who we are. Just like our language is a representation of who we are. You see? So, I just wanted to say a couple of words on that. So the Bill 1484 in Mississippi is giving these bounty hunters the ability to be bounty hunters and to hunt down these immigrants. And Trump is unleashing these different agencies, these different, militaries or whatever police forces out there to round up the Latin tribes. And he sent a bunch of troops. I'm not sure how many troops he sent down to the border to close the border down. So there's a lot. The water, brothers, Numbers 132 of the children of Joseph, namely of the children of Ephraim, right? So Joseph and Ephraim are synonymous with each other. All right. So, and then also going back to 2017, which I'm sure they got more stuff, in the works, dealing with the biometrics, because now we're at the point where the infrastructure of the MOTB is already in place. All they got to do is just say the word, activate, do something to make people take this. And for the most part, most people that take the MOTB, they're going to take it voluntarily, but then it's going to come a point where it's going to go from voluntary to mandatory. And that's when the great persecution will really start. But that's when the Lord will step in. When the enemy shall come in like the flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.